Hello. Today we're going to talk about autism. Autism is a word that brings up many stereotypes. But today I'm going to teach you about autism in a fact-based way. You'll hear about what autism is and how to recognize it more easily, more clearly. I'm a father of a boy and a girl diagnosed with ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder, most commonly just known as simply autism. Today we're going to learn about what autism is. You'll learn how to recognize signs and symptoms of autism, and you'll also learn the differences between a child with autism and their typical peers. First, let's delve into what autism is. Many people know that autism can contribute to issues with communication, but what most don't understand is this goes beyond just speaking. Autism will also go into a person's body language. Autistic children tend to have difficulty understanding their own body language and being able to read the body language of others. According to the Spectrum News, the brains of people with autism are structurally different from those of typical people. And what that exactly means, we don't know yet. The most common genetic cause of autism is Fragile X syndrome, which is an abnormality in the FMR1 gene. But there are approximately 100 different genes that scientists have found are linked to autism now. If you have one child with autism, the chances of your second child or another child that you have being diagnosed with autism goes up 20%. That's what my family is. Scientists originally believed that autism was much more prevalent in boys, but recent research has showed that it's almost as prevalent in girls, if not as prevalent in girls. But since the research for the diagnostic criteria has been done almost exclusively on boys, according to the Child Mind Institute, this has caused there to be girls to be undiagnosed or underdiagnosed. Autism is a spectrum disorder that affects a person's perceptions or senses and their ability to communicate with the world. Now that you know what autism is, let's delve into some of the signs and symptoms of autism. Many children with autism meet milestones early. They'll talk early, read early, be particularly good at math way earlier than they should. But a lot of autistic children, and the ones you most often hear about, will meet milestones late. They'll talk months, sometimes years later than their peers. They'll walk months and months later than their peers. They'll have difficulty self-feeding. That can take much longer, months, maybe years, part of the time. Stimming. I think you've heard of stimming. Stimming is how a child with autism self-regulate. Think of it like somebody that you know that when they're nervous, they bite their nails or they twirl their hair, maybe tap their fingers. It's like that. But autistic stims oftentimes are things that are socially unacceptable, like flapping their arms, rocking back and forth, chewing on anything available. Children with autism typically respond very well to a strict schedule. Knowing exactly what to expect and when to expect it helps reduce anxiety, because anxiety is oftentimes comes with autism also. Children with autism tend to have rigid thinking. They can be what people call black and white. And this being inflexible a lot of times causes difficulty with them being able to interact with other children their age. We've discussed what autism is, so now and the symptoms of it. Now let's discuss the differences between children with autism and their typical peers. The autistic child may have difficulty with balance, running, jumping. Their bodies may lack coordination, may find feeding difficult. Excuse me. Autistic children may have trouble crossing midline. In other words, It may be difficult for them to take like the right hand and do something over here on the left side, and vice versa. Meltdowns. Meltdowns become a household word. People hear them. But an autistic meltdown is way different than just a simple temper tantrum. According to the Autism Awareness Center, meltdowns occur when sensory input becomes too much for the autistic brain and it cannot process it anymore. It overloads, so to speak. Children often become inconsolable. Many autistic children find it easier to make attachments with inanimate objects, pencils, a piece of trash. These objects can become extremely important to the autistic child. Think of it like how a typical child often will be very attached to a stuffed animal or a blanket. Sometimes love and empathy appear different in children with autism. Children on the spectrum have difficulty showing their love in a typical manner. And oftentimes they assume that the people that they love know that they love them, and this makes it very difficult for them also, because they don't feel that need to show it all the time because they assume this person that they love knows it. This can lead to people's false belief that children with autism are cold and lack empathy. This is not true at all. Children with autism experience the world around them very differently than their peers. Autism affects many children around the world with more knowledge of what it is, more understanding of its symptoms, and how it affects children, how they're different from their peers. The more help these children can get in order to live a full and productive lives in society. Thank you. That's it.